Hello, everyone. This is Doug Wilkerson with Central Christian Center here in Joplin, Missouri, and also Saturday Night Live Life Recovery Ministry here also with the church. Uh, Thanks for being with us, being with me. Hopefully, your day has been great. Want the best for you. Today, on an encouraging word with Doug, hopefully, I have some information that will be a benefit for you, maybe some insight, some understanding, maybe some inspiration, some hope, some help. So, anyway, um, today I'm going to be talking about why environment trumps willpower. We're going to be talking about the law of conformity and also a related term that goes with that law of conformity to the 95% law, which I hadn't heard before I ran across this information. I thought that was very interesting. So I'm kind of lumping some things together. Hopefully it will be a help and a benefit to you. I'm going to be talking about how you can use self-control not to just get through a crisis or crises, but to avoid them. We want to use our willpower, our self-control in a way that's really most beneficial and helpful. And so to avoid some crises instead of trying to use our willpower in the middle of a crisis or emergency, that we, batten down the hatches and all men on deck type of situation. But why environment trumps willpower is such an important statement, and I'll say that hopefully many times to help you to grasp or try to grasp what I'm trying to relate here about the importance of uh, putting your willpower into your creating your environment or putting into your environment instead of just using your willpower to muscle your way through whatever temptation or issue that's going on in your life. So here we are. We don't want to waste our willpower battling through situations, because the fact of it is, willpower is not, uh, we don't have much of it. It only lasts for so long, as you know, because it will flat give out on us. And that's the reason why we need to use what little willpower we do have, or a lot of willpower. Some of us have more willpower than others, but use it in ways that's most beneficial for us. And that's really about using it in to create the environment, because if we can create or choose the environment that we want to be in, then the environment will actually guide and direct and help us. So this conformity, this law of conformity, is that they say that 95% of people will be conformed to whatever environment that they're in. And that's the reason why it's so important to choose your environment. So 95% of all people will conform. You've heard of peer pressure, okay? And the thing of it is that many different studies have gone on about in this area about our desire to conform or to be accepted or approved of by our peer group. And so it is better to use our willpower to create healthy and productive habits for ourselves, which means good habits, put us hopefully in a good environment, or create a good environment, or help us to stay in a good environment, to so that our environment then kind of works as a covering to help us to navigate through life. Birds of a feather flock together. You've heard of that, And so, anyway, I want to read a few scriptures to you. This came to my mind. I'm not. I may come back next week, hopefully, and I may back up a little higher in this passage. And this is I'm going to be reading out of Proverbs 3:5-7. And as I was preparing for this, I was looking at the first part, and I really ought to touch on those things, but can't do everything all at once. So here we are today. We're just going to be doing 5-7. But give me a chance to get into the point, because it's actually in verse 6 that it's addressing that I want to touch on. So verse 5 says, "Trust in the Lord with your whole heart." And again, choosing our will to use our willpower to be all in anything really keeps us from being divided or broken up or split-headed, as the scripture talks about. And so we need to trust the Lord with our least. That should be our desire, our intent, to trust the Lord with our whole heart and lean not to our own understanding. And as I was thinking about this and preparing this, lean not to our own understanding. Earlier in the first few verses talks about the importance of knowing God's word and lining up with God's word, and that's what he's talking about, is lining up with the truth, which is God's word. Okay, and not to our good ideas or those ego issues that are pushing us around sometimes, but we need to line things up with the truth instead of just maybe some good ideas. And I know sometimes that's gray areas, and sometimes we think it's the truth, but we find out that lies produce destruction, distortion, heartache, suffering, and truth is not always pain-free, but it's a whole lot healthier and more productive. So lean not to our own understanding. In all thy ways submit to him. It's in our best interest to submit to the truth. Wouldn't you agree? Isn't that in your best interest? And he will make your path straight. In other words, that guidance, he will lead you and guide. Scripture says he'll lead you and guide you into all truth. Trouble is, we want God to guide us, but we don't want to go his way. Have you ever found that out to be so? Just saying. And he tells us in those earlier verses not to forget his word. And that's the reason why, if we know his word, then we'll have that straighter path. Hopefully straighter the better, right? And if we have that, he said that these words, his word, his truth, will lengthen our days and give us more life and more peace. We'll probably talk more about that next week. Verse 7. This is pertinent to what we're talking about here today. He says, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear." This fear is not like being scared. I looked it up in the Greek, and it says reverence, revere, honor, respect. So let's use revere the Lord and shun evil. Shun is that we want to avoid, deny, sidestep. I think one term that they used, evil. If we know that this path leads to evil, then let's take a different path. Trouble is, a lot of times we want to go down the path, but we say, my willpower will keep me away from it. Well, maybe it will until it runs out. And then what are you going to do? That's what we're talking about here today. Your willpower is choose healthier paths, which would be the environment we're talking about, because environment trumps willpower. So if we can avoid it up front, then we don't have to use resistance with our willpower. Does that make sense? So verse 8, shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. In other words, things will go better for you. Or if you choose to go down this path, I'll probably ask you, how'd that work out for you? And then I'll say, then what'd you learn? And most people say, I should have done that. Right? Okay. So the key to willpower is to use it in avoidance. And I don't use that very often, okay? But we should use our willpower to choose to avoid rather than resist, okay? In other words, if you go down a different path, then you don't have to worry about resisting it. You know, I remember I visited my brother Mike many years ago. He was working in a church up in House Springs up by St. Louis, and the preacher up there always would say that he could withstand anything but temptation. Just a little joke. So avoiding temptation is way easier than resisting. Whoa, let's say that again. Avoiding temptation is way better than resisting it. Wouldn't you agree? Now, that's playing offense, okay, instead of defense. Choosing where you want to go. I tell people all the time, choose where you want to go instead of where you don't want to go. All right? So play willpower defense instead of willpower. Play willpower offense instead of willpower defense, and use that willpower to set up environments, situations that can be encouraging, that can reinforce you, that's productive habit patterns, behaviors that will work for you, instead of setting up habit patterns that always seem to work against you. Like, why can't I resist? I have a problem with drugs and alcohol, and so, why can't I just go to those places and not do anything? Because it grabs a hold of you and pushes you around, or whatever your issue might be. Okay, all right. So if you deal with it before you get there, then you don't have to deal with it when you get there, because you don't get there. Okay, so why environment trumps willpower is so that we can use our willpower to battle and create the environment, and then use our limited willpower to create better environment and better habits. Use our willpower to create better environment and better habits. That makes sense, right? Practice what you want, create those habits, okay? And how do you do that? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you some suggestions, okay? But how you do that is you create new systems, healthy systems, productive systems. You work productive, healthy strategies. You find methods to change your life patterns so that your patterns can affect and change you. Does that make sense? So I found this system here, and it says 5 strategies of behavioral change. Okay, I'm going to kind of run through them real quick because to try to give you a tool to help yourself. Okay, and the first strategy is what they call pre-contemplation. Okay, think about what's going on before you're able to think about it. Okay, before your number one strategy is it's talking about before you're aware of a problem. Okay, you're trapped in a problem. You know, why do I always do this? I've said that. How come I always react this way? Okay, and that's because we're into a problem and we're not even aware. We haven't turned the light on yet. We're stumbling in the dark. Okay, we got the problem, but we're not aware of the problem yet. Okay, yeah, I'm in the middle of pain. Okay, I've done it to myself again. I've shot myself in the foot. Why do I keep doing this? Okay, why do I keep making the same choice over and over and over? What does Einstein say? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. He called it as insanity. So number one, we're unaware of the problem. Number two, we need to be aware. We finally wake up a little bit, okay, and sometimes that's what spiritual awakening's about, and that's sometimes the cognitive awakening where we're waking up, we're seeing things that we didn't see before. And many of you know what I'm talking about. But aware of the problem and have the desire to have the behaviors to change or the behavior to change. And so that's number two, and that's contemplation or thinking about it, being aware. Okay. Now that's an overwhelming place to be, stage 2, because now you're aware of the problem, but you don't know how to fix it. You're just aware of it now. Okay. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm covered up with this problem. Well, you've been covered up with that problem for a long time. You just weren't aware of it. Now you're aware of it. It feels worse, but actually you're getting better. Whoa, what was that? It feels worse because you're aware of the problem now and you weren't before. You just kept getting hit in the head. Okay? So you're aware of the problem. Okay? So it feels worse, but actually it's getting better. It feels worse before it gets better. And that's what's going on here. Number 3, you have to have some preparation. You have to have some intention of what you want. Okay, I don't want to stay in this spot here anymore. I don't want to keep doing this same thing over and over. Now, a lot of us have said that. Okay, but that's part of number 3 here. But you have to go ahead and then have some desired changes, some new habits. Not only do I want to stop having this happening, that means I have to stop doing the things that's causing that to happen, or allowing that to happen, or putting myself in the position where that happens again. Does that make sense? I know this is going too long. And so here we are. We have to have that intention. We have to think about it. We have to get some education. We have to learn. We have to recognize what the truth is and say, I'd rather live in the truth, even though the truth is hard and it's scary, and it shows me things that I wish I didn't know, but I need to know and I want to know really, but it's hard to know. But so I can make those changes, even though I don't know how to do it. And I'm looking for the answers. And when you go asking the right questions, the information will show up. It does. But you know what? The information has always been there for you, but you haven't even asked the right questions, so you didn't even know what the information went to. Me too. I've been there. Still am in some situations. I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I'm not as good as I'm going to be. How about you? So here we are. We need to take some action, and we have to practice what you want. You have to practice the things that you've learned. You have to practice the truth. You have to practice the desired behaviors that you want. You know, to learn any new thing, you have to practice it. You have to practice it until you move it from your conscious perspective into your unconscious perspective, and it becomes an unconscious habit instead of trying to work a conscious habit, which you have to do in the beginning, but then you move into the unconscious. But right here in step 3, you have to take action. You have to take action. You have to practice, 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 practice. Einstein said it takes 11 positives to offset 1 negative. So you have a lot of practicing to do. We set ourselves up for a lot of problems because we sabotage ourselves. And sometimes it's even with good intentions. I know that may sound kind of weird. I could explain that. But we're not going to do that right now. So then stage 5, you have to maintain it. Because even after you've gotten on the path, sometimes you get off the path and you have to maintain. You have to do maintenance. You have to put yourself back in there. And that's basically, you have to do a mental, emotional checkup. And you should do it every day. Just to bring yourself into the center. Congruent, where I want to go. My behaviors line up with where I want to go. And then if I do that, then my emotions will line up with that. And you're getting closer. Those are some techniques, some strategies to help you down this about creating the environment that you want that will trump your willpower and put you in a good place. Got a story for you. Some research information that a woman named Carolyn, she was a director of food service for a large school, and she was just kind of doing a little research and experiment, and she decided she was going to move food around and see the response of the children that are coming through. So, trying to make a long story short, she basically worked with French fries, carrot sticks, and desserts. So she started off with French fries in the eye level of the kids, first things when they come in, and then the other stuff later. But she moved them around, and she figured out that by placing these items, because the first thing you saw was the one that got most attention, okay, and how you saw it. And so, but if she put desserts up there, it seemed like a lot of desserts went, and French fries, but if you saw carrot sticks and other healthy things got more activity than it did further down the line. Her statement was she could control 25% more activity with the foods, controlling the placement of the foods in the line. Just her research. And so, but other research has indicated that the details of our environment plays much greater role in our behaviors than we realize. That was Sunstein was one of the researchers on that. Environment trumps willpower nearly every time, according to their research, and that willpower helps us to avoid temptation. But if we were able to delete the temptation, then we would be able to not do that. But if we just use willpower to avoid it, it deletes some of the willpower little by little. It drains it away. Okay? And we only have so much energy in every day. And if you have to fight the same battle every day, and it depletes you and makes you susceptible to other things down the line, okay, then why wouldn't it be a wise move to take a different path, create a different system, create a better environment? Research shows that environment makes it easier to do the right thing, bottom line, okay? and what we need to do is then that environment then makes it harder to do the wrong thing. Another story they said, an experiment, was that if you're having to do with food, sweet snacks at the house, if you leave it out on the counter and you see it, you're tempted, and it works on you, and you eventually eat it. And they suggest if you're going to have cookies or sweets in the house, put them up out of eyesight, up high where you have to work on getting them. Make it harder instead of easier, and put things down, fruit and nuts and things like that, down where it's where you see them, and that it's easier to get to. You can just respond to that impulse. Let your impulse be guided to a healthier item. And then they went on and said, better yet, don't bring the cookies home. Okay, do it. Turn it off there. Don't put them in the basket. Okay. Use your willpower there instead of at home up high in the cabinet. But start wherever you can. Okay. Whatever progress you can make, because we're interested in progress, not just perfection. Okay. So we need to make healthy choices, and that we need to help ourselves create a better environment, and we can use our willpower to do that instead of trying to pull us out of the fire, okay, by resisting the temptation when we're already starting to burn in flames, if you know what I mean. So Benjamin Hardy says this. He wrote a book on in Willpower Doesn't Work. He says that you are who you are because of your environment. Want to change? Question mark. Then change your environment. Okay? So you change your environment, and then your environment will change you. Bottom line. How about that? Sound good? Hopefully this is helpful, and that, hey, I want to encourage you. I know I ran a day late. We had some internet issues and all kinds of stuff, and this is my third attempt, I think. And so, anyway, I just want to encourage you to make healthy choices. Hey, a good choice is to be in church somewhere, and if you don't have a church, here at Central Christian Center would be a good place to be. We love everybody that comes in, no matter what your stuff. We'll love you. We may not love your stuff. Hey, you don't love your stuff. I don't love my stuff. But we can love you. And that's what's more important. So, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you his peace. And again, make healthy choices. Until next time, take care of yourself.